Welcome to the Wumlex Show, episode number 26. Today with Hans Scheffer, the CEO and founder of HelloPrint. The podcast is presented to you by Debt Agency and Spryker Systems, the e-commerce technology everybody's talking about right now in Europe. The moderators are Lena Hackeler from Stockholm, Willem Blom from Amsterdam, and me, Alexander Graf from Hamburg. I'm talking today with Hans about the very details of the printing industry, the traditional printers and the online printers, and why HelloPrint as a printing platform makes so much sense in this industry. He was telling us that the industry alone explains for a couple of $100 billion of revenue per year all over the world. So there should be enough room for e-commerce platforms like HelloPrint. He shares a lot of details about the printing industry, and we are sharing one common investor. Project A Ventures is invested in HelloPrint. They are also founding investor of Spryker Systems. So please learn a lot about the HelloPrint and printing industry with Hans right now. Hans, welcome to the Wumlex Show, again in our camper here at the Debt Festival in Amsterdam.
My pleasure.
We have tried to do this podcast now for a couple of times, and now finally we meet because we have the same investor, Project A Ventures.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell the listeners a little bit who you are and what you're working for.
Yeah, sure. I'm Hans. I'm 37 years old and CEO and co-founder of HelloPrint. European print platform that sells print to consumers and businesses in Europe currently with an asset-light model. We don't own any printing presses. We're just a platform that facilitates that people from Europe, printers, can sell their printed materials to our European customers.
So and how did it start? Though wasn't there any platform? Because if I look at the German market, it seems like there's hundreds of different places where I can print and that claim to be asset light. So how did the market look like when you started here in the Netherlands?
Yeah, so I started HelloPrint in 2013. So barely 6 years ago. But the history goes back a little bit further. I started my first online print initiative somewhere around 2000, in a time that internet was not on the rise yet. And then back then the whole landscape obviously looked completely different. And it has changed over the course of the last years. We have a tremendous amount of players in Europe. It's a highly fragmented market, but it's also a very big market. It's one of the largest industries. It's bigger than automotive. It's bigger than the pharmaceutical industry. So
printing?
It's bigger.
Printing.
Yeah.
How big is it?
It's hundreds of billions of euros. But everyone thinks in print of printed paper materials, but print is so much more. And on your t-shirt, there's a printed label inside. On your watch, something is printed. This bottle is printed, and I can go on and on and on. Here at the festival premises of Debt, where we are, almost all of the materials are printed. So the industry is huge. And like I said, the way the competitors are acting there, it's highly fragmented. Most of the players are having an asset, not an asset-light model, but are vertically integrated with a lot of machinery. And we obviously did that in a different way. Our model is based on acquiring customers at the one hand in online marketing and make sure that they are coming back by using great technology. So basically, in essence, we have nothing with the printed product itself. And I think that's a big difference when you compare it to traditional printers or traditional online printers, like I would call it, like the German players, like Flyer Alarm, like online printers, like Laserline, Save, Saxo, etc.
So when I prepared for the podcast, I read that you tried to aim for 50 million in revenue in 2018. That was a number from some online discussion. Can you give us a rough overview about your company?
Yeah, so that was the goal for 2018, and we succeeded in that. It was 50.5 actually. Mm-hmm. We're still on a quite steep growth rate. We grew from €0 in 2013 up to now 50 million euros last year. Our aim is to maintain a certain growth path, but also to become profitable. I think that's very healthy in this phase of the business, and we're succeeding in that quite okay. We're still expanding the model. We're now live live in 8 countries. We have 5 countries which we want to launch in the next couple of months. We're changing our complete technology stack at the back end. That makes us way more scalable. We're adding a lot of new products to the portfolio to extend our business both geographically and in terms of product diversification. So yeah, the whole model is focused on growth, on healthy growth throughout the world, and first focusing on Europe.
Can you guide me a little bit to the process? So is it mainly B2C customers you're serving, or is it hard to say?
Yeah, so it's B2BC, as we would call it. So it's the typical small business owner, 1, 2, 3 employees, is ordering print for promotion or for vanity metrics. I like to have my logo or my brand spread out through the world on a promotional product. So that's the typical customer that we are serving. And that's a deliberated choice. Most of our competitors are choosing the more professional segment, the communication manager, the marketing manager, or the graphical professional itself. But we are choosing for that typical small business customer who was used to order print via a middleman, via a graphical professional, but is now more and more able to do all these things online themselves. And it's our aim to make ordering print as easy as like ordering a book at Amazon or ordering shoes at Zalando, to make that whole customer experience so easy that small business owners can do that themselves.
Okay, and because you're targeting these like B2B2C small business owners, your expectation is that there's like a decent loyalty rate. So if they're happy, like ordering T-shirts with best coffee shop in town, on it they will come back to order the cups at your service. They're gonna order the napkins or whatever they want to print. Is that correct? Okay, can you give us like rough numbers about such a cohort, like the small coffee shop owner? What would an order look like in your environment? How often he comes back? Yeah. Where did you acquire him or her? And what does it cost actually?
Yeah, these are very good in-depth questions. So the typical small business owner is ordering print a few times a year, and hopefully we can achieve that will be 4 or 5 times per year. But on average, I think a small business owner is ordering 2 to 3 times a year, and it varies from a letterhead to a flyer for a certain event, or the sponsoring of the local football club, some shirts, etc. So low order values, typical order value around €100, 2 to 3 times repeat rate per year. And then obviously it's the whole game of getting that customer back more often, more frequently, and against a higher value. Because in print, there are a lot of products that you need to promote your business. But the majority of the products are nice to have. It's nice to see your logo on a water bottle. It's nice to see the football team of your children doing the warm-up in your T-shirts. It's nice to give someone a lighter with your logo on it. But you don't necessarily need that. So it's our aim to make that so easy for customers to be persuaded by that super nice way of promoting your business, and that they will buy these products at HelloPrint.
And let's say he's doing like an order for 100 or 200 euros, ordering like printed coffee cups. Then you send this order to like a coffee cup printing specialist or like a B2B company. Yeah. There are a couple of around. Yeah. And then those B2B companies are sending the order directly to the customer, and you're charging kind of a premium, right?
That's exactly how it works. So the network consists out of more or less a few hundred European printers, all in their certain niche. We have larger printers who are doing multiple products. They can do paper products, but also signage and outdoor, or clothing and textile. But we also have very niche orientated players, which are doing very high-end packaging, for example. And that's exactly how it works. So a customer orders something on our platform, and depending on when he needs the print delivered and where he needs it to be delivered, our smart technique is choosing where it's being produced and who is shipping it. And that combination of a printer combined with a logistical service, that makes where the order is being produced.
Okay, and is it possible, like you're seeing on other platforms now, if you're selling standard lighters at Amazon, you need to bid against other lighter manufacturers? Is it possible on HelloPrint that I say, okay, there's maybe an order available on HelloPrint, and I do know next week there's some, I do have overcapacity. So I'd rather go below, the standard KPI I've managed, together with you. Please give me that order.
Yeah. So that's the whole platform philosophy. How that works. It is exactly like you say. That's how Amazon is doing that. It's our aim to open up the platform in the next couple of years when the technique has evolved and is being replaced into a more seller central marketplace where people can upload their products. And from there, basically the bidding or auction, step is very close. I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to do that, but it makes sense to consider that typical models to incorporate that in your business.
Okay. Makes sense. So, what do you see, or what do you experience when you're like connecting a local printer? And I guess he's not so strong in tech because he was doing this business because he wanted always to be in printing.
Yeah.
So just getting like the data feed of available printing capacities seems to be very, very complex to me.
Oh, that is very complex. I think that a lot of people in our company who are now hearing you ask this question are smiling because this is the typical question in our company. How can we make sure that we get all the necessary data from these non-tech savvy local printers onto our platform? And that's also the biggest struggle that we had over the course of the last year by replacing or changing our core technology. In essence, a platform model is mainly an inventory model. So if you are able to structure your product data in the right way, make that available, accessible, and easy to manage, I think that's a big distinct factor if you want to grow and scale your model. And that's where we have invested tremendously in to make that super, super simple and to create an onboarding flow for these non-tech print producers locally to upload their products quicker.
Okay. Let's look a little bit more in detail on this local print producer. I know a lot of them because I started my career in event industry 20 years ago.
Me as well.
That was like the industries we are in 20 years ago. Today you start an app.
Exactly.
That's a difference. 5 years later, the guys started then programming websites based on HTML. So
exactly,
me too.
So
we
can shake hands on this. I think. Yeah.
But I worked together with a lot of these of these printing shops, so to say, and they did some. They had a lot of B2B orders, but even a lot of B2C orders, and even my orders, like printing flyers for specific parties, was like, let's say, 300 euros or 400 D-Mark or whatever.
Yeah.
And they took it seriously. So, how big is the share a typical local printer in Amsterdam or Eindhoven would get from a platform like HelloPrint versus the share he's due on direct business?
I think it's a hard to answer question, but the landscape in print has changed tremendously over the course of the last 20 years. If you take a look at the Netherlands, I think, 10 years ago we were having approximately 5,000 or 6,000 local printers, and that diminished into, I think, more or less 600 right now.
Okay.
So the shift that has been made there is huge. So you see a lot of consolidation in the higher segment, and in the lower segment you see that the typical mom and pop shop is completely disappearing.
And therefore the machinery of this mom and pop shop is also disappearing because the bigger shops are taking over with better machines.
Yeah, I think that's literally what happens. Yeah. So that whole ball game has changed, and for a very local and small printer, I think it's almost impossible to survive if you stay a general printer. So you either go up in a bigger business or you specialize tremendously in a certain niche. If you do that, for niche players, there's always room in the market. But for a generic printer on small scale, I think that time is gone.
Oh, okay. But then let's take one of the bigger ones from the 600. Let's say there's, then the shops, the average, printing, business probably employs 10, 15, 20 people. So running the machines.
Then you are already a very small printer.
That's a small.
Yeah. Typical, if you're talking about the mid segment, it's between 10 and 20 million euros in revenue.
And they can employ more than 10, 20 people running the machinery?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the share of demand generating through platforms for such a mid-sized printer?
I think it's very limited. There are not that many platforms. I think in Europe we're the only real platform which is doing it asset light. Yeah. I know that in Germany you have Wirmachendruck, for example.
Yeah.
But they're
part of the Simpress group.
Yeah, it's part of Simpress group.
And there's one of the Simpress, the CIO will also be in the podcast.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to that. CEO of Simpress, Robert.
CIO, it's a friend of mine who worked at the Otto
nice.
Group before.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And he was managing director of Flyalarm before, so we will fact check what you're going to say.
That's very good. Yeah.
We be prepared.
I think we say that we are the only real online print platform in Europe, or maybe even in the world. Wirmachendruck is doing more or less the same model, but I think with a limited amount of producers. So they're not producing themselves, but they are producing with selected strategic partners. In our model, that's slightly different, I think. But in essence, for the customer, it doesn't matter at all. So for the customer, it's just ordering print somewhere, and who's making it. I think that's not important for a small business customer. If the quality is right, if I have the guarantee that it's on time and that the quality is okay, and when the customer journey is easy to use, I think it doesn't matter where it comes from.
But again, to the share, and I will share some experiences with Wirmachendruck in a minute, because we use it a lot. The mid-sized printer, from a HelloPrint, how much of this demand is coming from your platform then?
Yeah, that highly depends on the partner. So what we always tend to do is that we, in close cooperation with the partner, design how much work he will get and what kind of work he will get.
Okay.
So at the end, I think a model like this only works when two sides of the platform are benefiting from the cooperation. So partners are able to tell us, okay, let's say in November I have a lot of demand in my other business, so please decrease the number of orders that you send to me. That's not a problem for us. Certain parties are saying, okay, I'm buying a new machine. Can you increase the number of orders here? And that's also not a problem. So we try to do that in the right cooperation and in good balance. So that is in essence, I think, different from the larger platforms like Amazon, etc., where that works in a different way.
But when you disappear tomorrow for whatever reason, it's not like all the mid-sized printers in Netherlands go out of business because the demand is still there.
No, definitely not. And
not yet.
We also have a certain limit on what a share of wallet a certain partner can have from us. Okay. We will never go above, for example, 15% of their revenue, because we think that is an unhealthy situation. I think partners should never rely on one or two very strong customers. I think it's not a healthy situation.
But what is in the view from the partners? So if I was running a mid-sized printer company and with a decent understanding of how platforms are going to work in the futures, I would figure out that maybe today you can give me some extra business I'm not able to create because that's customers, I don't know, in Eindhoven, and my main business is in Amsterdam, whatever. Yeah. But in the future, if the platform becomes bigger and there's some margin arbitrage strategies played out on the platform, so I probably will decrease my average margin because my service becomes more obvious, more transparent for the whole market. So I'd rather be very, very careful how much of my business I want to play out through a platform. Do you see partners arguing like this, or do they only see additional revenue?
No, I think that's on two sides of the platform. That's the case. So at one hand, we say, okay, your share of wallet should not be above a certain level, but that's the same counts for the partners. Obviously, if you are running your business in the right way, I think you should not rely only on the revenue of a platform. So that can be an additional revenue, but as an additional revenue stream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. And you're saying that you've expanded already in a couple of other markets, not only Benelux?
Yeah.
How does it work out? Because if you're now on a run rate of, let's say, I don't know, 100 million or roughly a high double-digit million rate, just the amount of people you need to manage online marketing budget per market that's quite heavy. Or are there synergy effects I don't see yet?
So the way we structured our business right from the start is on a completely centralized way. So we always had the philosophy that e-commerce in Europe, in essence, is more or less the same. And sure, there are differences between the south and the north and between certain countries. But let's say for 70%, the customer is acting in the same capacity in every market. And the rest between 70 and 100 is optimization. So what we do, if we are entering a new market, is being done in completely the same capacity as other markets. So our marketing, online marketing is completely centralized. All paid search campaigns are being run in the same way. SEO campaigns are being run in the same way. And basically everything we do with digital advertising or offline advertisement, is more or less being done in the same centralized way. So our opportunity cost of entering a new market are fairly low. We're not building a network from the start in a new country. So let's say if we start Portugal tomorrow, we use the existing supply chain of our French and Spanish markets, but even our Dutch markets where we can send obviously packages across Europe also next day. And we accept that lower gross profit margin that we are then making in the first phase of the setup. And then we optimize accordingly later on. And that's, doing that in that way. It makes it that the company can scale quite quickly into new markets, without investing a lot of money. And our whole methodology is being based on testing and experimenting. So for example, if we step into a new country, let's first start to sell flyers in Denmark with one AdWords campaign with a small budget, optimize conversion, have a good understanding of how the customer is, reacting online, and then see if we can scale it up.
Okay, yeah, got it. So that's quite a cool view on how to get how you can go into other markets. And if you're like focusing on online acquisition channels, have you tried out then call center approaches? Because I guess like the mid-size mom and pop store, coffee shop, whatever, who's gonna print?
Yeah.
Some of them are not. They don't have even the idea of like printing stuff online because they're so focused on their brick and mortar business. But if a phone rings, say I have a special offer for your next flyers, that could also work. Have you experienced with that?
Yeah, we've used, I think, the majority of the 17 traction channels that you have in marketing. And we're always trying to test, most of the channels are working, in close cooperation with each other. So, for example, if we, get a customer online to the website, that doesn't mean necessarily that he's going to buy because maybe it's way too complex or too uncertain, etc. So we're testing, for example, with onboarding flows, if we can recognize a customer online that we call him quickly afterwards when he lost his, when he has abandoned his cart, for example, or has registered but haven't bought. But also cold calling is one of the things that can definitely work. And I think in that essence there is a difference in marketing because in the south of Europe that is more accepted or the e-commerce adaptation rate is lower than in the north. But in general, we always try to be as focused as possible in online marketing by acquiring customers. And we want to do that in the most scalable way. And still, that's search because that's heavily measurable and very scalable.
And within search, what we are seeing in our B2B business, that there's a shift in channels. So it's more LinkedIn than our B2B campaigns, for example, right now. Less Facebook, obviously less Google, because the network effect there are decreasing already. Do you see the same? So, or is like or is it like 5 years back, though people really start searching on Google for I'd like to print flyers, I'd like to print coffee cups or whatever. Is it the way?
So I think what we see is the same as every retailer or online player is seeing. So the cost per click are increasing year on year. So the only way to make a profit in your lifetime is that your conversion goes up, or your lifetime value needs to go up, but that's quite complicated. So you need to test with additional channels. So also we are struggling with, okay, how can we make sure that search is still a relevant channel? Should we add a certain channel to search, for example, calling after registering, to make sure that conversion goes up and the cost per click or the CACs are going down? Yes, LinkedIn is a channel, but it's also a very expensive channel. I think for the larger B2B segment where you guys are in, I think it's a very suitable channel. But for small mom and pop shops, it's maybe not the most relevant channel. What do you do with social, etc. So it's always a combination of optimizing all these relevant channels, attribute them accordingly, and see where you can optimize.
In the podcast I recorded yesterday with Ruud Vermeulen from Bol.com, I asked him, okay, what is like limiting your growth? They're growing on a nicely growth rate. Absolute numbers are very impressive how they grow year over year. Yeah. And he said, okay, we could grow much faster, but it's very hard to build warehouses faster. So it's the brick and mortar stuff that is limiting them. In your case, there's like you don't need to build brick and mortar. So what is limiting your growth then?
So what's limiting the growth is basically how you can acquire customers. So for us, the problem doesn't lie in the inventory that we can get from the market. Mm. The technology in between is always a struggle. So how can we make sure that we do that in a very scalable way, but it's not super limiting. The most limiting factor is how quick you can acquire small business customers in a scalable way. And the quicker you can do that, and the more efficient you can do that, the faster the growth wheel, as we would like to call it, can evolve. And at the end, a growth model is always a combination of acquiring customers against the lowest price, a conversion rate that's constantly increasing, and lifetime values that are increasing. And by these increased lifetime values, you can acquire more customers. And if your conversion goes up, you get more lifetime value out of it, and you can acquire more customers. So working on all these individual parts of that growth wheel makes it that you can scale up your business. But it's also the limitation. If these elements of the growth wheel are not working, or you're not able to get the cost per click down, or you're not able to get your website in a certain shape that your conversion rate goes up, or you don't get your customers quickly enough back, or the repeat rate is too low, then you're facing problems.
Yeah, that's okay. I believe that. So I think last time I've ordered a flyer online. I think it was on Flyer Alarm. No, I ordered for the kettle business one of these big signs outside. It was very, very desktop driven. Do you see like the mobile shift even in your business? Or is this? I know we are stressing like the cohort mom and pop store, but is mom and pop store ordering rather online or on a desktop?
So for us, the majority of the orders is still being generated on a desktop. That has something to do with the complexity with the file. So in print, you always need a file. But for example, one of the things that is part of our strategy is really making that whole journey as easy as possible. So we're looking into ways to really get that complexity out of the chain. So everything with regards to the file, that's a complex thing, but then you need to think different. And if we succeed in that, mobile will be a very relevant channel, obviously, to order something. But if there is a hiccup in the supply chain, like we apparently have with print, because you need that file to print something, then if there is a hiccup in a certain customer journey, mobile is not the most suitable channel to use. Because mobile needs to go very smoothly. But what we do see, obviously, is that mobile has a certain place in the customer journey. So orientation can go on mobile, but the real purchase can be completed on a desktop, for example.
And you said in the introduction that you're now changing your technical infrastructure, not on Spryker yet, but what drove the change, or what limited the existing infrastructure?
Yeah. So like in every business, one day after you've built your first piece of software, you have legacy. And even although we are quite a young company, as we consider ourselves, we're 6 years old. And we built the company always in a scalable way, or with a scalable methodology, but still you're not completely ready for the growth and the internationalization and the complexity of the model that the model currently has. So more or less 1 year ago, we started to really build our new infrastructure, our new platform structure, completely on microservices. Within the heart, and that's basically the reason of rebuilding it, a new product information management system which can handle all these product variations that we have. Print is a very complex product. So for example, for a flyer, you have a size, paper, thickness, way of printing, finishing, packaging, quantity, etc. So that makes it that it is a very complex product in terms of product specifications or attributes. And handling that in an international network, 13 countries, a large amount of producers, that's a very complex thing. So we needed to rebuild the whole infrastructure around that new product information system, and it's a complex thing.
Is the machinery already like kind of standardized? If there's like a mid-sized printer and you like create an order in your online shop, let's take the flyer example. Yeah. Is there still manual labor included when the order is sent from HelloPrint to the printer, or is the machinery itself already able to, just by the information extracted from the XML feed or whatever you give them, to print it?
It highly depends on the machinery that you have, or the printer that you have, or the techniques that you are using. You have a lot of digital printing machines, for example, who are quite able to connect almost directly or with a small piece of workflow software to our platform. But in general, we always connect with our producers on an API based way, or they make a connection with our supplier portal, or we do it via XML. It's always what the printer wants. And it highly depends on the techniques that he is using and how digital savvy he is, because not all these printers are non-digital savvy. So a lot of the bigger players who are in the market already for years, they have made quite some substantial steps over the course of the last years in terms of automation and the way they structured their workflow, etc. And these are exactly the parties that we are working with for the larger volumes.
Okay, and in the very big printers, aren't they themselves on a way of building platforms because they want to own a share, because now they're understanding like platform economy and say, okay, it costs some money, but how hard can it be to build a HelloPrint ourselves?
Yeah. It's always a very interesting question, but the question also counts the other way around. Shouldn't the online printers or platforms produce themselves? And I think for us, the answer is super obvious. It's always no, because it's a completely different ballgame. For a printer who wants to step up the game into the online playfield, yes, for sure, that's possible. In terms of technique, it's not a problem anymore. That was the big problem, I think, or the challenge years ago. But setting up a website, make sure that you are visible online and offer your products is not the most complex thing in the world. But making a profitable living out of acquiring customers online, let them come back and make a return on investment on it, that's something different, I think. It is an interesting development that we currently see in the more mature markets, for example in the Netherlands, that certain traditional printers are stepping up the game now and are trying to go more into the end user channel to see if they can get a bigger piece of the pie with some more revenue to cut out a certain part of the chain, the platform in this particular case.
The bigger printing businesses, how profitable are they? If you're like running on a printing business, creating like 100 million in revenue, which you say is only a very tiny part of the whole industry, which is hundreds of billions on the world. What's like their EBITDA margin?
I don't know it by heart because I'm not a printer. I've heard rumors that my German colleagues are making quite a good profit on an EBITDA level, obviously, before the depreciation of the machines.
They must, because if you the Fly Alarm, for example, guy, he's known for driving very, very expensive cars and giving a lot of money to the local football club Würzburg. Didn't play out for first Bundesliga, but will come. There must be some money, and I see more and more printers doing like a first league football banner advertising, which is say, okay, that's the highest untargeting campaign you can drive in your market. So there must be some margin still in there for bigger printers.
Sure, I think it's still very profitable business for if you do it in the right way. You're mentioning Fly Alarm. Torsten is I think a great example of a super good entrepreneur who's built up the whole Fly Alarm business himself. A lot of respect for that, and in that capacity, he is very well structured with his company. It's very well automated. The brand is being established, and sure, if you do that properly, and he is in the business for already 15 years, I think, with Fly Alarm, then you can make a decent profit out of it. Yeah.
Okay. What is in the next steps for your business? A part of like, I think, growing like 50%, 100% per year, whatever your target growth is it complicated enough?
Well, that would be a nice target, but it's not that high anymore.
Even like 20%, that's hard to do. So what's the next big thing apart from like platform rebuilding?
Yeah. Well, actually, it is the platform rebuilding, because if we have built the platform in the way we have made the architecture out of it, then that opens up the model of HelloPrint to the whole world. That's one of the aims that we want to do.
So more markets?
So to more markets. So launch our HelloPrint.com model in basically every country in the world. Extend the product portfolio massively, because there are still a very big amount of untouched categories that we're currently not doing. So we're not good in packaging, we're not doing workwear, we're not in 3D printing, and I can go on and on with that. So extending the current product portfolio in combination with the geographical expansion, that would lead eventually to a faster turning of the growth wheel, which is currently our aim.
That's cool. How many people are working at HelloPrint?
So we have approximately 120 people in Rotterdam, where we have our headquarters, where tech, marketing, and supply is being located. And we have approximately 100 people in our international customer service center in Valencia. And then we have some small local sales offices.
Why is it located in Valencia, the customer service?
Yeah, that's quite a interesting and long and fun story, I think. When we started internationalizing the model, we wanted to test it in two different ways. First, we wanted to have a centralized approach from Rotterdam, launching one country with a high e-commerce adaptation rate comparable to the Netherlands. That was the UK, so we did that from the Netherlands, fully centralized. And we thought, okay, if we want to test how these models are comparing to each other, let's also take a complete local approach. And one of my best friends, Robin, was moving to Spain with his wife. And he had a very good business development role at one of the bigger energy firms in the Netherlands. And we came to the agreement to test it over there, to take that local approach with a local team. But eventually it turned out that the centralized approach was way better. But we had a small customer service team there. And then the first English guy came in there, and then we thought, okay, maybe we can scale this up. It's an international city. The weather is nice. The salaries are okay, and it's attractive for students to work there. And then we started to build up the scalable model over there, and eventually in 2017 moved the whole customer service operation to there. But there's one reason behind that. And the reason was that in the Netherlands we saw that growing your business with a growing team is complex on itself. But if you combine a culture of freedom and responsibility and context versus control with a lot of independency, that's something that we want to have in a Rotterdam team. With a culture of customer service where basically everything is quite strict, it's processed, there's not a lot of freedom and responsibility because the phone rings at a certain time on the day, you need to be there, etc. The combination of these two cultures is not the best combination. So we took the cell approach and we said, okay, in Rotterdam we have that culture of freedom and responsibility, of growth, etc. And we have the service-orientated culture in Spain, where we have a different cell under the HelloPrint umbrella, but acting in its own capacity and with its own core values. And I think combining these two, that's a limiting factor of growing your business.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's a direct flight from Schiphol to Valencia.
It's not bad to go there quite often. So
yeah, cool thing. Yeah, that sounds super interesting. Then we should catch up in Berlin next time when you're visiting one of our common investors.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your very open answers to my very specific question, but I'm really interested in the printing.
It's the best interview I've ever had. I sincerely mean that. Very in-depth questions.
And the first?
No. And the first interview, yeah.
Thank you a lot for your time here. Have a good day.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, that was really cool, wasn't it? So we've learned a lot about the online printing industry, and I think you know where to order your next flyers. In the next episode, we learn much more about the Amazon SEO industry or the Amazon marketplace strategies from different brands, presented by Nils Sündorf from Factor A. He's part of Debt Agency, and I was partly co-founder of Factor A. So this is a talk where you can learn a lot how brands need to behave today at Amazon.de and Amazon.com.